Hi there, I'm Eitan, and welcome back to the Wix Wiz. Today we will be exploring integrating your Slack channels workspace with your Wix website in many different ways, starting from a very simple example of sending a test message from your Wix website to Slack, up until more complex integrations like this message that you see over here. Whenever somebody places, for example, an order on your Wix website, you will get a Slack message with a button that will go straight back to the dashboard of your Wix website and let you view the order. So if you're interested in seeing that and more, let's get started. Okay, so first things first, let's go over the prerequisites for this tutorial. So first of all, you're of course going to need a Wix website, and ideally you will have Wix stores enabled, and it will be a premium website if you want to implement this for Wix stores. But basically you'll need full control over whichever app you're choosing to implement this for in the Wix ecosystem. If you're using a free site, then the first part of the tutorial will definitely still be relevant to you. And of course, you will also need a Slack workspace/channel in which you want to implement this application. And I've also opened up the Slack documentation here for messaging/webhooks. And I'll leave this link in the description below if you want to follow along. So the first thing that we're going to try and do is to send a very simple message to our Slack channel from our Wix website. And in order to do that, we're just going to follow this step by step. So the first step here will be to create a Slack app. And they have a handy button here, which we could just click, and that should take us to where we need to build the app. So we are going to first build out, do we want to do from scratch or from an app manifest to add your app's basic file info setting and feature to your app? Let's try app manifest because it sounds a little easier. So I'm going to choose the WixWiz workspace, which is this workspace that I have over here. I'm assuming that if you have multiple workspaces, then you'll have them all here in the dropdown. And enter manifest below. Basic info, scopes. Yeah, I'm going to assume we could change this. I'm going to look at the JSON one just because I'm more familiar with JSON. Name demo app, that's fine. Okay, I'm just going to leave all the defaults for now. And awesome. So let's see what this app looks like. Awesome. Configuring your app in code. Post messages from external sources into Slack. Okay, so this is what we want here, incoming webhooks. So let's just click that right over there. Activate incoming webhooks, and we're going to turn that on. And then we're going to have a webhook URL for our workspace. So we're going to send our message in JSON as the body of a post request. That's very clear. And this webhook to your workspace below to activate this curl example. Okay, add new webhook to workspace. Let's try that. And demo app is requesting permissions to access the WixWiz Slack workspace. Okay. And I'm going to add it here to this test channel and click allow. Okay, so basically, let me just recap what we've done until now. We've created a Slack app, we've added this app to a specific workspace, and we've also given it permissions to receive incoming webhooks on a specific Slack channel. And now what we can do is we can use this webhook URL in order to post to the channel. And one thing that I'm thinking about here is if it's going to need some kind of API key or something like that, but let's just run a test and we'll see in a moment. So this is our webhook URL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy over this webhook URL, and I'm going to go to our Wix website, and I'm going to add a backend file, and I'm just going to call it Slack. And then here I'm going to write out a very simple fetch request. Okay, so let me get rid of all this code and export async function send Slack webhook. And we're going to need, let me paste the URL right over here. So const webhook URL equals to this. And we're going to need to import fetch from Wix fetch. And then over here, what we're going to do is we're going to say const response equals to await fetch. And then we're going to have our webhook URL. And here we're going to have const data equals to await response.json. And we're going to return this data. And here I'm going to add a console log just to log the response. So console.log response, just in case for some reason we don't actually get data, so we'll know kind of what's going on and why it's not working. One more thing that we're going to need to add in here is the options. And that is because here, if we look at the Slack documentation, it said that we need to send this as a post request. And here's example data, so text hello world. So we're going to send in just this example data. We're going to send it with the header of content type application /JSON. And that should be enough. So let's put that all inside of our editor here. So the method for this request is going to be post. And the headers, so we're going to have one header, which is going to be this header over here. So let me just copy it right over. And here we'll just change this like that. Don't need that. Awesome. So that's our header. And we're going to have our body, which I'm also going to copy over from the example. I always like to copy from examples first and then start playing around. So here we have this example over here. So I'm just going to copy that right over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here, but I'm also going to put JSON.stringify just to make sure that it's in JSON format. And then we'll pass the options right over here with our URL, and we're ready to test. So moment of truth, and let's run that. Awesome. So we got something going on here. Oh, okay, so we got a status 200, which is generally good. And if we take a look here at the test channel, then we managed to send the test. So that worked a lot faster than I was expecting. I was definitely expecting to go through a lot of, not a lot of, but some trial and error before we actually managed to figure this out. And here we still see this, even though I did change my locality into English. Interesting. I don't know why that stayed. But that kind of reveals where in the world I am, for those of you who are wondering. But here, so we got this message, hello world, and that's freaking awesome. So basically, we can essentially send messages to our Slack through our Wix website, and let's develop this a little more. But before we do that, let's figure out why we were getting this error here. Invalid JSON response. Okay, so I guess there's just no response. There's no data in the response. Let's see. Generated. Okay, I don't see anything here in terms of response, so we don't need. So here, what I'll do is instead of getting this JSON, what I'll just do is do response.status. And that hopefully will be 200. So let's try that one more time. .status, yeah. And then we could just basically say that, like, if status is 200, then we're good. So let's do response.status equals 200. And then if I run this again, then it should, oh yeah, returned with true. Okay, so awesome. That will be our Slack webhook for now. And now we can try and kind of step it up a level. So what I'm going to do here is in the editor, on this page, which is just called Slack, I'm going to add in an input. So let's add in this input over here. And I'll change this to say Slack message. And then I'll add a button. And this will be our send button. Send. And let's add some code. So this will be our message input. This will be our send button. Sorry, I think you can't see part of it because it's behind my face, but send button. And here what we'll do is we'll just have a very simple function, async function send message. And then what we'll say is const message equals to message input dot value. And then we will call our backend function, which is send Slack webhook. But we need to make a slight adjustment here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have message as a parameter. And here, instead of hello world, we're going to have the message. Okay? And text, I'm guessing, is just how internally inside of Slack they defined what the format of this message that we're sending is going to be. And I think that when we look a little bit into the documentation, we'll find instructions for how to make something a little more fancy than just plain text, which we probably would want for our actual application. So yeah, so that is set up, and now we just need to send this from the front end. So let's import that function from backend / Slack. And then here we can say await send Slack webhook. And then here we can pass in the message. And we can also define a variable, let's say const message sent equals await send Slack webhook. And then we can say if message sent, then let's say message input dot value equals to nothing. Okay, so it'll clear the input if we actually manage to send the message. And we're going to send this message on the button click. So let's add in event listener for that. Send button dot on click, and we're going to send the message. And there's one small thing I want to add here, which is just some error handling for this scenario. So let's do a try catch. And we'll catch any errors just in case we have them. So console.log error sending Slack webhook. And here we'll have the error. Awesome. So this is looking great. We can get rid of this log. We don't need it anymore. Awesome. I'm feeling good about this. So let me go ahead and publish this. Let's go to view site and Slack. Awesome. So let's send our Slack message. By the way, we have 2 hello worlds here now. So let's send our message. Hello, Slack people. And we'll click send. Okay, and our input cleared, which is a good sign. And here we can see hello, Slack people. Okay, so we already created this one-directional communication between our Wix website and Slack. So that's a lot of the work done. And now let's talk about how we can create kind of more complex messages and also incorporate these messages as kind of part of an automation with our other Wix applications or Wix website functionalities. Okay, so now that we've set up basic communication between our Wix website and Slack, our next challenge will be to create a slightly more advanced communication, both in how the Wix website will be sending the message to Slack and how this message will actually look in Slack and what it will allow us to do. So the goal for this part will be to create an automatic message whenever somebody places an order on our Wix website. And in that message, we want to have a link that will allow them to somehow view that order or quickly go and see the contents of that order. So in order to do that, we're going to be using several things. So we're going to be using this backend event that Wix has when a new order is created, so on new order. And we're also going to be using these instructions for making it fancy with advanced formatting with regard to our Slack message. Okay, so first of all, let's set up a new Slack channel. Okay, so if you haven't done that yet, then you can create a new channel called Orders. And inside of our application, I'm going to add a new webhook to the workspace. And I'm going to choose the channel Orders. And I'm going to click Allow. And I'm really just doing this to practice the process of creating the new webhook. So now that we have this new webhook, I'm going to copy it over. And I'm going to go to the back end of our website. So this slack.jsw. And I'm going to just paste in that new webhook URL. So const orders webhook, and that will be this webhook right over here. I can even just put that right on top because that's not going to change. So I can put that right over here. And we could kind of just repurpose this, or I'm just going to copy it over and create a new function, which is going to send order to Slack. Okay, very similar to the previous functionality, but here, instead of sending just a plain message, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sending an order. Okay, and now we need to take this order and format it in a way so that when it's sent to our Slack channel, it will look nice. Okay, and it won't just be text, but we want it to look fancy, something like this. Okay, so let's take a look here and see the instructions for making it fancy. So here we have one kind of example here. And I see it includes incorporating something called blocks. And we also have this block kit that, I don't know how well you can see, it's not really zoomed in very much. But we have this block kit here, so I want to take a look at that and see what Slack offers here with the block kit. Building blocks. Let's see. Placing blocks within surfaces. Each block is represented in our API JSON object. Here's the example of a section block. Okay, so we define a type for the block, and then we have text in the block. So I don't want something too complicated. My main concern is to have a button in the block that will allow us to click and go and navigate to a specific URL. So here, okay, so accessory button. And here we can see type plain text, click me, emoji, value, action ID. Okay, this is starting to get a little on the complicated side, but let's start building out our block. So I'm going to actually copy this over because this looks like quite similar to what I want. So I'm going to create another function here. Format Slack block for order. And I'm going to pass in the order over here. And we're going to return this nice object. And here we have the block, so we have the section. And we have text type markdown. I'm just going to leave that like for now, and I'm going to say, here you have a new order. And we're going to have a, okay, so we have here accessory button type plain text. Okay, that's the text for the button. And here we'll say view order. And the value is what we need to figure out now, because basically I want this to go to, okay, so here, sorry, I'm thinking as I go. So here in the text, I actually want to have the order number as well. So let's add that over here. So it'll be order.number dot toString. And I'll add in here kind of a number symbol, kind of like that, just so we have some kind of indication inside of the text what the order is. And now we need to figure out this button click. So let's take a look here. I did see something about interactivity. Okay, so adding interactivity. Preview in BlockKit Builder. This is fun. Oh, okay, so this is cool. So this basically allows us to build the block here and then see what it's going to look like. The question is, let's see. Let's see if we add a button. How do we add in? Okay, so this helps to see it visually, but I don't really understand now where this button is going to go. Let's see. Reference, block elements. Let's see, actions. Actions blocks. Type block ID. I might end up Googling this. Let's see. If I don't find it in the next minute, then I'll Google it. Let me try and go to the button. Oh shoot. The button reference. Yeah, as you can see, there's really a ton that you can do. I mean, you could build some really cool stuff with this. Action ID. Can use this when you want to receive interaction payload to identify the source of the action. URL. Awesome. This is what I want. So we're going to pass in a URL. And value, action ID. Okay, I don't think I really care about those two, but we do want to have the URL. Let me just, that would go under the same level as type, action ID, value. Okay. These are the only two that are required, type and text. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get rid of these because we shouldn't need them. And I don't want to just have things that we don't need. And for this URL, what we're going to do is we are going to use the URL of an order in the dashboard. So in order to get that, if we take a look here at some orders that were previously placed in the dashboard, then when it loads, this is your chance to like the video and comment below and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this video. As we wait for this to load, there we go. Okay, so here we have the orders, and if I click on a specific order, then you'll see here that we have this URL up here on top, which will help us navigate to this specific order. And something that I know from previous knowledge is that this is just the order ID in the orders collection. So if I have the order ID, I can essentially send people to this dynamic URL and send them to view this order in the dashboard. So I'm going to copy over this URL, and I'm going to go back to our Wix site, and here I'll say const dashboard orders URL. And I'll put that over here, and the only thing that we're going to add dynamically is this ID over here. Okay, so we can get rid of that. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that the URL should be the dashboard orders URL plus order.id. Awesome. So this should be good. And then this will return inside of our. So I'm going to get rid of this webhook URL. Here we're going to have the orders webhook. And here for the body, what we're going to have is we're going to have our format Slack block order format Slack block for order function, and we're going to pass in the order. And that is looking pretty good to me. So now the last thing that we have to do is we actually have to call this function. And we're going to be calling this function, as I said, inside of the onNewOrder event. So we're going to be here in our Wix website. In the backend, we're going to go here to handle backend events. And we're going to add in this event over here. So I'm going to copy the boilerplate code here from the Wix documentation and just paste it right over here. And here you can see an example of the order. Oh, so actually, okay, I'm already seeing something that would have potentially caused an error, and that is that the order ID is called order ID and it's not underscore ID. So let me quickly change that before it potentially causes us an issue. So that would be order ID. And again, I'm giving an example here with Wix stores, but there are 1,000 different implementations that you can do here on your Wix website, and each one will have its own nuances, so you'll have to read the specific documentation for that Wix app in order to implement it. But just an example here of how it would work with Wix stores, specifically for placing orders. Also within Wix stores, there are multiple different things that we can implement this for, potentially. So, okay, hopefully that we avoided a little error there. And okay, so on new order, what we can do is, so we don't need all this. Essentially what we need is just the event. Okay, this is the event object, and this is what I was going to pass into. Let me just make sure that we have number here for the order. Yeah, we have number, okay? So that we do have, yeah, so we just need to pass this event essentially into our function. So let's import send order to Slack. Whoops. I don't know what's going on there. Import send order to Slack from Wix, from backend/Slack. And then we're just going to call it over here. So try catch, export async function, await, send order to Slack, and we're going to send in the event. And then here we can say console.log error sending order to Slack, and we're going to have the error. And that should be it, to be honest. Now we get to see what kind of errors I made. So I'm going to go ahead and publish the site. And I'm just going to clean up my tabs a little bit. Let's see. No, actually, I pretty much need everything here. I can get rid of this one. Hopefully we can get rid of this one and this one. So we published the site, and I'm just going to refresh here. And I'm going to go to the shop. And I'm going to add some stuff to my order. Let's go over here and add this in. Awesome. So I have 2 products in my order now. So let me go to View Cart. And before I check out, I'm just going to go in the back end, in the dashboard, sorry, I'm going to go to logs just in case we have an error so I can see what's actually causing the error here. And we're going to go to checkout, and you'll notice that the checkout is going to be through Stripe. This is actually another app that I'm working on which kind of automates the Stripe checkout that you may have seen in another tutorial of mine. That's also why the website here is called Wix Stripe Checkout. And the reason I'm using it is just because, well, the advantage here is that it lets me essentially check out using a test account in Stripe and not actually pay for the order and still simulate placing an order in Wix. It's also a site that I'm paying for as premium to test out these kind of things, so it just works. But obviously this is not how it will look on your Wix website if you're using Wix Checkout. But basically, I'm going to go to checkout and we should be redirected to Stripe any moment. And awesome. So now we can just go ahead and check out. So let's just use a test email and test. And here address will just be test. And here let's do a fake phone number. That's invalid. Okay, 111-000. Also invalid. 490000. Okay, that's a valid phone number. And here for the card, we're going to use a Stripe test account card. Again, this is all stuff that's relevant to Stripe. So Stripe test cards. And yeah, so like a number like this. Just put that right over there. And yeah, so this is not something that you can do, unfortunately, yet on your Wix website. I really do hope that one day they do implement that. And awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and pay. Again, this is a fake payment. And awesome. Now I should be redirected to the success page. Okay, so the order was placed. And now if we go here to our Slack channel, so you see we have a new order, number 10017. And if I click this View Order button, then it takes me to the Wix dashboard. And I'm in the order. So give yourself a round of applause if you got this far with me. So yeah, so that's very exciting, and I'm kind of feeling a bit proud that we didn't have like 1,000 rounds of testing and debugging before we got it to work. To be honest, this is the first time that I'm doing it, so that was kind of lucky, but it's really a lot thanks to the fact that the Slack documentation is pretty good, and the whole process is rather streamlined, and this could be improved a lot. I mean, this app is not configured to handle interactive responses. Okay, anyway, there's still what to improve here in terms of the look and feel of this message. We can add more information from the order into this message, but this is super practical because you could have people from your business in Slack, and they don't have to go to the Wix website to check. They just see these orders coming in directly into your Slack, and then they can go check them out and fulfill them and do whatever they need. You could probably also integrate this with Wix automations. So for example, if we go here to our dashboard and then go here to Wix automations, And then let's just create a new example automation. So let's see here, order. Let's start from scratch. Wix stores, store order placed, all products. And then we can go here to send via webhook. And yeah, so we could, and then you could put kind of your, oh here, customize structure. Yeah, we could probably paste the Slack webhook over here, and then have it sent there, but I feel like we'd hit some snags in terms of customizing the layout and the message that we're actually sending. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how valuable that will be, but this is an avenue to explore if you want to try something like a little more low code. Even though I felt that this wasn't too hard to implement, let me know if you think otherwise. Um, but yeah, I'm curious to hear what kind of projects and implementations you would want to do with this kind of integration. And if there's enough interest, maybe we can spin out a block app for people to use and easily kind of have a no-code solution for something like this. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to give a like, comment below, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this coming out weekly. And I'll see you next time.